Hi, and welcome back to the studio. Today I wanted to have a candid discussion with you about something that happened to me 20-something years ago. At the time, my son was a first grader, and he asked me if I would be willing to come into his first grade classroom for show and tell. He wanted me to show off some quilts that I'd been making. Now, at that point, I'd been making quilts for a few years, kind of an accidental thing. I started by wanting to make a quilt for a friend of mine who was about to have a baby. And the truth of the matter is I had no idea how to make a quilt. I had no idea how to actually use a sewing machine. I had to have someone show me how to thread it. But I set forth to make my friend this quilt because apparently I'm the idiot who has no fear about doing things I've never done before. And the first quilt, I'll be honest, it wasn't good. But the truth of the matter is, as I kept going with it, it really bit me. And again, this idea that I could be creative, I could have output. And I would quite literally set my sewing machine up on a Saturday or a Sunday, and I would watch ball games while I made quilts, all right? Because it passed the time. I've never been able to just sit and watch television very well because my brain's always like, isn't there something better you could be doing with your time? And it's probably right. But the point simply was, I enjoyed the process. And for years as a technology trainer, I'd been telling my students that a lot of what we were doing in media development was like building a quilt. We would take all these pieces and we would cut them apart and then we would sew them back together in this magnificent new style. And I started getting into this idea of looking at art quilts, not your standard blocks on blocks, but art quilts. Quilts that allowed you to really create an abstract art piece that was not only attractive, but you could wrap around you on a cold winter night. So I had been making some quilts and my son apparently was proud of this and wanted me to come and show it off. So I showed up at his first grade class one day and came in and I did my 5-minute pitch to a room full of 6-year-olds. And I said, here's the situation. I've made these quilts. Aren't they interesting? And you can look at them. And then the teacher, and this is a woman whose job is to hang out in a room of 6-year-olds. That may be one of the challenges, but she didn't seem to like her job. And she didn't really seem to like children, if I'm being honest. And she looked at me and in kind of that sneer, she said, well, isn't quilting an unusual hobby for a man? And at that point, it just struck me that what she was trying to feed back to me or to the children was just wrong on so many levels. And I remember I had a friend who was at home one day and he was coloring. He was sitting at the kitchen table and he was just happily coloring. And the football coach, and by the way, those of you who live in small towns, the football coach is kind of right up there, right? The football coach comes to your house. He came to visit one of my friend's older brothers, but he came in and he looked at him and said, oh, coloring? And it was with derisiveness. This boy is coloring. How bad is that? And my friend put his crayons away and never made art of any kind ever again. And I think it's a sad story. And the reason I want to share this with you today is because when this teacher said this to me, my brain kind of went into, oh, you want to play this game? All right, challenge accepted, gauntlet thrown down. And I turned to him, I said, you know what? You bring up a very good point. And what your teacher is trying to share with you, boys and girls, is that if anyone ever says to you, you can't do something because you're a boy or because you're a girl, they are wrong. Now, yeah, it's a little like throwing a grenade into a room, but the point simply was this. I didn't want these children to walk away with this assumption that gender meant anything when it came to creativity. Now, don't send me all sorts of notes saying you seem too woke. That's not my objective here. My objective is don't let other people define who you are. I've lived enough of a life to know that you get to a point, no matter who you are or what you do, there's always going to be somebody who doesn't like you. It's that simple. You can try to spend the rest of your life trying to make everyone love you, and there's going to be someone who just doesn't, for whatever reason. And it's theirs to own, not yours. And so the simple reality is this. Don't let other people define who you are or who you are going to be. And if you want to be creative, go be creative. If you want to be on the football team and then at night make art, do that. There's nothing to say that because of your gender, you are incapable of being a creative force, right? I just think that there's so much benefit, just the stress relieving and the ability to create something and look at it and take ownership and say, I made that, which is such an amazing feeling in my life. And I want you to experience that. And I don't want you to spend your time, well, maybe someone will see me making art. Who cares, right? The people who are most critical of other people in this world are the people who are doing nothing, right? They are so bitter that they have nothing to show, that they're perfectly happy to tear anybody else down and their efforts. Don't let them do that to you, right? That's it. Not to preach. I just wanted to share that it's such an important thing when you step forward and say, I want to be an artist. If you're going to unleash your inner artist, you need to be comfortable with the fact that there may be people judging you. Unfairly, fairly, doesn't really matter. The simple reality is you get to define who you are. And if you want to be an artist, go make stuff. Let them worry about their own little lives. And everything turns out all right in the end. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And by the way, if these videos are helpful for you, we'd love to spend more time with you. Feel free to hit that subscribe button. I'm Spider. Have yourself a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon.